Lambing is now in full swing with plenty of ewes giving birth and lots in the pens. And in today's episode, what we want to do is take you behind the scenes and look more closely at the lambing process, the care and nutrition of the ewe, and then the aftercare once the lambs are born. There's plenty to look at and lots to learn. So with the ewes, we start thinking about their health and well-being months ago. So the gestation period of a sheep from mating to birth is 5 months. And we put the ewes in with the rams. They need to be in good condition so they ovulate to conceive lots of lambs. And then we look after them very carefully during the winter months, particularly in the last 6 weeks coming up to when they give birth, because that's when the lambs grow very quickly inside the ewes. So the nutrition is key. And we scan the ewes halfway through the pregnancy, and we know who's carrying a single, twins or triplets. And we give them more food if they're carrying more lambs, so that the lambs are born the right size, the ewes have plenty of colostrum, the first milk, and they stay in good condition, so everybody's fit and well. So in these pens, we've got them separated into singles, twins, and then triplets down the end there. We then need to look very carefully at these ewes that are giving birth and try and spot the signs of birthing. And the first thing they do is move to the corner of the pen. They go round and round in circles, they paw the ground, they lick their lips in anticipation of licking a newborn lamb, and then they go into labour. They start to push. And the first thing we see is a water bag coming out of the ewe, and then 2 front feet and a nose first. That's the correct way for a lamb to be born, the most streamlined way to get its body out of the ewe. If there's any problems, the shepherds that come through the shed here in a rotation all day and all night can intervene and help the ewe, assist the birth if we need to. Looking across the pens at the moment, it's all fairly steady. There's a ewe there looking a little bit restless, but she's going to go and have some breakfast now, so she's probably okay. And once they give birth, so the lambs don't get lost in amongst the other ewes, and so they can bond as a family, we bring them into these individual pens where they stay for 48 hours before they go into a nursery and then away into the field. So these are the latest ones to give birth. This ewe has given birth to twins, and I'll just pick one up for you. So they're born all sloppy and wet with all those birth fluids, and then the ewe will lick them dry. And the first few hours of life is absolutely crucial for the shepherding. The lambs are born with no natural immunity, so they need that colostrum, the first milk. And they have brown fat in their body that gives them the warmth and the energy, but they need that colostrum so that they can live and survive. Now, if I just tip it up, you can see its umbilical cord there. That's where it's attached to its mum inside, where it got all its oxygen and all its food to grow to where it is now. That breaks naturally during the birthing process, because now it's going to breathe through its nose and its mouth into its lungs and drink mum's milk into its tummy. So it doesn't need that anymore. So we put iodine on there to stop any infection. That will dry up into a little twig. I get another one that's a bit older. So it dries up, breaks off, and leaves its belly button. That is a really good, strong lamb. This ewe has put so much energy into producing her lamb, she hasn't got enough colostrum, so we buy artificial colostrum, and I'm going to mix them up, and then I'll bottle feed them, make sure they've got plenty. So once the lambs are born, the aftercare is really important. We've talked about the colostrum. We've dipped their umbilical cords in iodine so there's no infection. But this bonding is really, really important. You'll notice the ewe is licking the lambs dry still. She's murmuring, talking to them. They're talking back. They're learning each other's voices. Although they say the lamb already knows what their mum sounds like because they've been listening to her while they've been floating around inside her womb. So to stop the lambs getting mismothered and lost in amongst the other sheep, we bring them into these individual pens. She's got 2 lambs, so quite difficult to keep an eye on them both if she was in a big pen like this amongst other sheep. So we bring them into this pen. She's got the silage, which is her food that she requires, and fresh water, nicely bedded down. We change the bedding in between each ewe, because this ewe will go out of this pen in a few days' time and we'll bring a fresh one in. So cleaning the pens out, disinfectant, keeping everything clean and tidy is really important. And so this bonding is something that we'll keep a careful eye on, making sure she's mothering and loving her lambs, and then we'll mark them up with a recording system, which I'll show you next. So with the young lambs, we've kept a careful eye on them. We'll check their colostrum, make sure they're warm, and they're fit and healthy, and the ewes are well too. And then once they're 24, 48 hours old, they're then ready to turn out into a nursery pen where they mix in with other ewes and lambs to make sure that they can find their mum in a crowd, because the milk bar provided by mum is absolutely essential for the health of that lamb. Once they're out in the field, if they lose mum on a cold, wet night and they've got an empty tummy, it's likely they might get ill and die. So the bonding of the family and getting them to be able to identify each other in a crowd is really important. But what we do that to help ourselves manage that situation is we put paint spray numbers on the side of the lamb. So this is number 1, and the ewe has got number 1 on her side too. So once she's out in the field, I can match up the numbers with lamb and ewe, but also I know because it's written in red, she's only got 1 lamb. If it's written in blue, like this one, number 1 blue, I know that she's got twins. So if one of these lambs becomes ill, I don't want to just get it and its mum in, I need to find the other lamb and get the whole family in, because I don't want to leave one out in the field on its own. So there's her twins. The other thing we do is we tag the lambs, and so they have an identification ear tag. There's a chip in that tag that we can scan, and any information we need to put down all goes onto our desktop. And we're monitoring and measuring the growth rates of these lambs. These are by a Hampshire ram that grow very fast off grass, and this lamb will be around 40 kilos in 12 to 14 weeks time, so they grow very, very fast. And she's a good mum with lots of milk. So these now are pretty much ready to go into the nursery, and then tomorrow, if the weather stays nice, into the field. So with our lambs, they're bred for lots of different purposes. So with our rare breeds like this Cotswold, this is a ram lamb that might be kept for breeding and sold to another breeder. A little Soay in here. Really lovely little lambs. Let me get hold of that one. Come on then, little one. Tiny little sheep. So that's a little ewe lamb, a female. So we'll keep that one in the flock. She'll be giving birth herself in a couple of years' time, hopefully. And then over here with the commercial ewes, some lambs will be kept in the flock and others will go for meat production, for the table. And so particularly the Hampshire lambs, they grow very quickly off grass, and they'll be ready to go in about 16 weeks' time, maybe a little bit quicker than that. And it's really important, I think, to understand where your food comes from. All these animals have been incredibly well looked after and cared for, and food provenance and British agricultural production is really important. So the lambing process doesn't just happen by magic. There's a huge amount of thought and management and care that goes into it. And so far, it's going really well. The sheep are in really good condition. The shed is tidy, well bedded down. The aftercare, being critical, is spot on by the rotation of shepherds that we have coming through the shed here. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, then like, subscribe, and ring the bell.